a hole, and that's what you need to drain a bog.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I think that's why it was. We can't do it because no matter how fast I shovel, the water keeps coming back in.
Totally, yeah. So Kulik did actually lead 3 more expeditions over the course of the next decade or so back out to this area, because apparently the one time climbing over felled trees for 12 days wasn't enough.
It was his unicorn?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. But so he had found those bogs and he thought, oh, there were meteorite holes, and that's where the meteoric iron's going to be. This time I will not fail the Soviet government. It's
okay,
fine.
comrade.
And you actually can't blame him. I mean, I would go there expecting a hole in the ground too. So any holes in the ground I saw, I'd want to check them out.
Yeah, exactly. You know? Well, it turns out, so they brought the technology with them one of those 3 times to drain the bog and to get the meteoric iron out of the bottom of this bog on the hole in the center of a log, and the tree and the toad and the... No? Okay. Yeah. Anyway, it's fine.
It's a reference. We don't get it. It's
fine.
Okay. Keep
I don't
going.
get it either. Yeah. Video game, I'm sure.
It's a camp song, but whatever.
Oh, okay.
They actually found at the bottom of the bog a stump.
Tree stump?
Yeah.
A tree stump from space?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
I think so.
Oh,
no, actually, I think more like a tree that had died. And
it was an old tree that was at the bottom of a bog, which means that it couldn't have been recently made by this meteor.
Yeah.
Most likely not.
Yeah. Bad luck, obviously. I'm sure the Soviets were less and less patient every time that Kulik came back to them and was like, listen, I know I promised you the meteoric iron. It's just not going to happen this time. I think they're just natural area bogs. I'll just full disclosure, I haven't ever seen anywhere a different explanation for them.
Well,
so I just think
happen,
they're just... That's just a boggy area of Siberia.
Probably.
Which is fine.
It's like the shirt says, bogs happen.
There's a shirt that says that?
Well, there will be now.
I gotta get one, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
I'm gonna make it.
Yeah, it's gonna be
I'm gonna make my fortune.
Yeah.
T-shirts that say
yeah,
happen.
That's how it's gonna happen, I'm sure.
I'm gonna be done with this little podcasting thing.
We'll miss you.
Make my T-shirt empire.
Okay, great.
Good luck.
You're gonna run out of ideas for T-shirts though without the podcast. So. By this time, you may assume that the Soviets might have decided that bankrolling these expeditions was pretty pointless because the meteoric iron not coming through and blah, blah. But no, apparently not. There have been tons of expeditions, most of which...
interest of science.
Yeah, they actually were kind of into the whole science thing.
Yeah.
You know, not necessarily for peaceful purposes, but they were.
Well, yeah, it would be kind of interesting to know what exploded that powerfully and if they could recreate it.
Why not?
So like I said, tons of expeditions over the years, some more helpful than others. In the 50s and 60s, they decided to start sifting the dirt, and they found tiny silicate and magnetite balls. On other expeditions, the suspicion that these balls would be found in the trees was confirmed. So that theory was confirmed that they're just...
Or at least lent some support.
It lent some support, yeah. And it did kind of lend support to the idea that something exploded really violently. And that these were just...
material.
Yeah, that it was material spread from this thing. Whatever.
You know, there's been actually, scientifically speaking, there still is to this day a lot of scientific speculation about precisely what happened.
Yeah, that's why we're doing a show on it.
Yeah, I mean...
I know, it seems crazy, but...
But believe it or not, there's still not a totally satisfying answer out there.
Which, again, is why we're doing a show on it.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, is that why? Okay.
Yeah, because it's still unsolved.
No, I mean, the point, I guess the point I was trying to get across is that this isn't just confined to the realms of, you know, like conspiracy theories and stuff. There are actually a lot of scientists have been really looking into this hard for a long time, and not just Russian ones either.
The composition of those balls, just briefly, was consistent with an extraterrestrial thing of some kind. Again, that is the scientific term, okay? So don't email me about that. Thank you. On later expeditions, the samples of flora in the area, especially bog peat, were taken, and they found genetic damage similar to what you would find from a nuclear explosion.
Chernobyl.
Yeah, I've read some claims that people in the surrounding areas also suffered from genetic mutations on just a genetic level, not like suddenly they grew a third arm out of their torso or whatever.
No fun.
I know, the not fun kind. But I wasn't really able to suss out the sources for that, or if there had been good documentation on any of that. That's the sort of thing that, you know, you're watching the 5th BBC or History Channel thing
I love the air quotes on that.
Yeah, History Channel documentary on this, and they say in passing, the people in the area were also affected on a genetic level, but that's like it. That's all you can hear.
I'd like to get some explanation as to that and what did it, because there's other factors out there too.
Totally.
Background radiation varies quite a bit from geographic location to location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Worth mentioning here briefly is there's a lake that we're going to talk about in a minute, so shut up.
A lake.
That's about 5 miles or 8 kilometers from the ground zero where all of the trees are still standing, that some people have speculated could in fact be a crater site. In 2017, some people suggested that the lake was created by a fragment of a meteor. But
not an entire meteor, but just a portion of one.
Yeah, but
actually, I think the original suggestion was well before 2017, right?
And we're going to go deeper into this in just a minute, but in 61, scientists did some sampling of the lake and estimated it had been created 5,000 years ago, so...
They took samples of the rock and sediment. Because that's really the way that you figure out how old a lake is how much crud is built up on the bottom.
Well, it can be.
Crud, dead animals, Nessie. But I mean, the lake is another huge source of, it's a hot topic with scientists.
And good news, we're going to talk about that in a minute.
I just wanted to give people something to look forward to. Because I know our listeners love hot topics from, for hot science topics.
Hot science topics.
I was about to say, we're not at the mall at Hot Topic. People don't love that place.
Nobody likes it. It's just full of teenagers and angst. And
actually, that's why
angst and acne.
Yeah. That's where I buy all your gifts, Devin.
I don't think that's true, but okay. Anyway, I think...
It really is. I've had to argue with him on
We're getting punchy. And I think this is like a good time to start moving on to theories.
Okay.
Our first theory is a subatomic collision or antimatter theory. Dun dun dun.
Ooh. Okay. I'll let you run with this.
So this guy is a fun one. That's why we're starting off with it.
Yeah.
Truncated from the Wikipedia, because sometimes they just do a better job of doing the explain like I'm 5 thing than I ever.
Listen, I go to children's websites sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I get it.
Yeah. Well, it's that whole thing where Einstein said if you can't explain it to a 5-year-old, you don't understand it, right? I do not understand this stuff. Okay. I'm not even going to pretend.
You don't get it? Okay, well, spit it out.
Yeah.
Lay it out.
So antimatter comets, and that's what the theory would be, is that this would be an antimatter comet or meteor, is a hypothetical comet or meteor composed solely of antimatter instead of ordinary matter. You guys know what the difference between those ones are, right?
Yeah.
It is a brain melter, but yes.
It's not actually even a brain melter. Just reverse the charges on all the particles, and there you go.
Yeah, it's basically
smart guy.
It's the opposite of everything that we are, and antimatter and matter balance each other out, but for some reason... But for some reason, there's just enough more matter than antimatter to allow life.
And nobody knows why.
It is a brain melter situation. Anyway, there's a theory that there are comets because, if there's matter comets, there's antimatter comets.
They don't matter.
We just don't know. Are they off in another corner of the universe? Or
who knows?
Are they
blazing around, or what's going on?
Interspersed, maybe?
Yeah.
I mean, it might be that we'll arrive at the nearest star and planet and everything. It'll be antimatter. Mm-hmm. And we go to land and kapoof.
Yep.
They're all hanging out in the corner of the galaxy gymnasium smoking cigarettes together.
Exactly.
Because it just doesn't matter, man. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Exactly, They're the French philosophers of the material universe.
I was thinking they're more the kids who are like outside the old defunct auto shop class that just smoke cigarettes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
basically antimatter smokes. Yeah. Is what we're getting.
Apparently. The theory here would be that what actually happened was we had an antimatter collision. An
object of some sort,
and that was what caused this explosion. There are actually some interesting theories. We talked about ball lightning in an episode one time.
Yeah, when we did skyquakes.
Yeah, so there's actually a theory out there that antimatter comets actually cause ball lightning. I don't understand it. Still don't understand it. Don't ask me to explain it. You have your quizzical face on.
No, I was trying to remember. We talked about ball lightning another time, and I'm trying. It was another one of my episodes. It was the one of the lights episodes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But the thing about it is at that time, an object the size of a comet made of antimatter, it wouldn't just cause ball lightning. it would. I mean, the release of energy would be enormous.
Cataclysmic.
Like a 10 megaton.
Like that's probably what killed the dinosaurs level stuff.
Actually, that is what those theories are. A little bit.
I suspect that something the size of a comet hitting the planet Earth that was antimatter would be a lot bigger than Tunguska.
Well, the problem is here, and we'll talk more about this kind of in the comet meteor theory. But the problem is that for something big enough, made of matter or antimatter, to survive through our atmosphere, so it would have made a bigger explosion. But if it was little, to make an explosion of this size, it would have just disintegrated in
long before it got that close to the surface.
Yeah, exactly.
Although, just fun science fact. Actually, antimatter hits the Earth every day.
Constantly, yeah. And actually, that's what I was going to say. Is the bad news for this theory is that in 1958 they were able to disprove that by the size that it would have had to have been, it would have either been kill all the dinosaurs kind of explosion, or it would have totally disintegrated in the Earth's atmosphere, because that's what they usually do. Apparently.
So this one doesn't matter.
So it doesn't matter.
No, it's a cool theory, though. I like it. I hope that if an antimatter comet comes by one of these days, that it won't hit us.
It could hit one of those other dumb planets.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way about just matter comets, for that matter. I don't, no pun intended. I don't want either one of them hitting us.
I don't really either. Yeah. The next theory is that it was an alien craft that exploded.
Yeah, I like this theory.
This one has been around a long time, because I remember hearing this one when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Because this story has been around a long time.
Since I think it probably happened when you were like 9 or 10.
Up yours.
No, this story has been around for 110 years actually, and people have been fascinated for at least 90 of those years. With
but it wasn't until like the 60s or so, and you started getting a lot of paranormal type books coming out.
Well, and stuff slowly started leaking out of the Eastern Bloc, but it had that weird mystique because, well, they were keeping it behind the Iron Curtain, and you didn't know what was there. So there was, it had a different flavor and a different panache is not the right word, but it got people going.
Yeah. Still does, actually, I think, a lot of times. Yeah. The theory here, the most prevalent theory that I've seen, the reason for the alien craft being there and being so low to the ground is that it was that lake, you remember we were talking about, it's Lake Checo, that's close by. The theory is that Siberia would be a place that an alien craft who was just trying to do research, scientific recon research, it's isolated enough that
makes sense.
That would be the kind of place that they would want to go to not get caught. So the theory is that they were trying to take some water samples or something like that, or fuel up with water. They were doing something with the water in the lake, in Lake Checo, and somehow it just exploded.
Somebody hit the wrong button.
They were trying to put something in Mr. Fusion, and
Well,
that gets back to what I was saying when we talked about the secret base in Antarctica. As you can be confronted with these aliens who have this fantastic technology, and that doesn't mean they're not just dumbasses.
Yeah.
They can totally be just dumb.
Yeah.
So I think somebody hit the wrong button, but. When I was a kid, the first time I ever heard this story was in a book that I referenced before, Stranger Than Science by Frank Edwards. Mm-hmm. And he talked about this one. And his theory was the alien craft came down to Earth, and it was like an emergency ditch kind of deal, because their positronic reactor was overloading, and they were going to blow, and they needed to find a place to land right now. And so they picked Siberia because it's the most isolated place. So. If it did blow up, then not as many people would get killed on the ground.
Oh, that was nice.
And so that was very nice. I thought so too. So that was his theory: is that it was a desperate alien trying to land his craft, but he didn't quite make it in time.
It does seem like parts of alien craft would have been found.
Yeah.
If that were in fact what had happened.
I actually have a counter to that.
Okay.
So have you ever built a boat you ever built the paper boat? You fold it and then you float the little paper boat down the waterway or down the gutter or whatever?
Yeah.
So now you just scale that up and you slap some nuclear reactors on there, and there it is. paper alien craft, and it exploded and burned up.
You're saying that interstellar travel is done by paper?
Yeah, you've got to use about 120 bond, though. That crappy 40-pound stuff just will not survive re-entry.
I guess another theory similar to that could be that the Leonardo da Vinci spacecrafts that were made out of wood were actually feasible, and that's actually he is actually an alien, and he was just trying to tell us that
he was trying to go home.
Yeah,
he was ET.
And maybe it was Leonardo.
It did explode.
Maybe somebody reanimated his corpse and said, "Hey, dude, let's see that spaceship. Come on!" And so he tried. It didn't quite work out.
Blew up and
this crude wooden nuclear reactor just couldn't quite handle the stresses.
Yeah. All right, so we've stumped all over that.
We have, but the only thing I will mention here is that the Russians did do one exploration of the area in 2004 and apparently found some stuff, but haven't publicly released what they found. Which doesn't surprise me. They probably didn't actually find anything, and people are just blowing the sweat out of proportion. But,
probably found a giant weed farm out there.
Yeah. I don't know. Next theory?
Let's hear the next theory.
Tesla,
the car?
Nope.
I love those cars.
Well, there's one in
Not
space
Elon Musk.
that could someday crash down and cause an explosion on
that would be ironic.
He's just sending it to Rainbow Road, I'm pretty sure.
It would actually be ironic if the thing actually came back down and it crashed on that exact same spot.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Yeah.
But I don't think it's actually. I think it achieved escape velocity, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's
not
floating
coming back.
around somewhere near Mars or something.
It's not in orbit. Yeah.
Yeah. It's supposed to
be.
Unless
it gets bumped back.
Mars
like a giant intergalactic game of pool.
Yeah, it bounces back. That'd be kind of fun.
Anyhow, let's talk about this theory seriously.
Okay,
it was actually Nikola Tesla, the famous energy guy,
smart guy,
scientist. He apparently had a giant tower that he was working on building. I had read in Colorado Springs, but Joe tells me I'm wrong about that place.
I heard it was Long Island, New York.
Okay.
Yeah. Somewhere
in America.
That was called Wardenclyffe Tower.
Yeah. And it wasn't he wasn't building it specifically, right? He was repurposing some kind of tower that was already there.
I don't know if he built it from scratch or not. I know that there was already a building there.
Maybe it was that.
They built it on top of this building.
Yeah. But it was supposed to be this giant broadcast energy tower, apparently, that could broadcast 10 billion watts of power worldwide.
Tesla was all about beamable
wireless energy, which
cool
in theory, cool, sure. I don't know about the 10 billion watts, but maybe, I don't know.
Don't come between Tower A and Tower B.
Basically,
That's a no-fly zone. Lots of dead pigeons.
Crux of this theory goes generally that Tesla was mad at J.P. Morgan for not funding the end of this building project.
Yeah, apparently J.P. Morgan had cut off the funding for it. He had bankrolled it originally, but then decided he wasn't seeing results. So screw you, Tesla.
So Tesla decided to show off the power of it or something. It's not really well fleshed out here what the reasoning was behind it.
I think the plan was that Tesla was going to give a demonstration by shooting a massive bolt of energy, because apparently, if you read about this theory, he was also, besides the transmission to the air of electricity, he was also working on this sort of death ray.
Yeah.
Although he preferred to call it the peace ray.
Well, yeah. I saw one of the websites refer to it as the rest in peace ray.
Other people call it the peace ray because it would be such a scary weapon that war would become non-existent. Although I got news for
doesn't work out that way. But
no, I mean everybody said that about nuclear weapons. They would make war obsolete. Well, it didn't really work out that way.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was going to put on, to show the world, everybody was skeptical, he was going to put on a demo by shooting a massive bolt of energy at the North Pole.
Yeah.
And that would show people
what he had
going there.
And what was the name of the explorer that he told?
Robert Peary.
Yeah. He said he was headed to the North Pole apparently at that time, and he told Robert Peary, watch for unnatural phenomena while you're out there. Wink, wink.
Yeah, but that could mean anything. Again, out of context, this is an underlying tenet of this show. Out of context, anything can mean anything.
Yeah.
If the meeting even took place. I checked on Peary's last expedition, or his 1908 expedition. And they left New York City July 6th, 1908, which was after the Tunguska event.
Right. Well, and I guess it's a little possible even that by that time they had heard about the Tunguska event.
Within a week, I don't think so.
I mean, I don't know.
I doubt that.
Yeah, it seems unlikely, but
that's why. Well, the thing about it is you read about this story in multiple places, but I don't know if it's actually got any basis in reality, or if it's just somebody made it up and it's all been cut and pasted.
I think people just like to have Tesla be this.
He is in every frickin' story. I mean, don't get me wrong. The guy was very smart and did some amazing things.
Yeah.
But he is involved in very positive and very negative ways in so many stories that it's just, there's no way he could have had any time to do any of the things we know he did and do all those other things.
Yeah. I'm sure he did at least a few weird, otherworldly things.
I'm sure he
did. Yeah, but I don't think this was it. Next up is what I'm calling the Bogle Chandler.